Hey,
All right.
we're
How you
back.
doing?
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I got some fun stats to start everything off with. So, record of 80 million Americans will travel 50 miles or more for Thanksgiving.
We're part of that stat. We're going to travel 50 miles or more. Not
Are we?
on Thanksgiving, but
Where are we
Saturday.
going? Belleville or
Russellville.
Russellville?
Yeah.
And then millions more expected to fly, but a majority are driving. So, most people drive. With ticket prices, I get it. And then a little over 80% of Americans will eat turkey, requiring an estimated 46 million birds to supply the feast. So,
Hey, a good question. Are you turkey, ham,
are you
or
a turkey
something
or a ham?
else?
The way I've always understood it's turkey, Thanksgiving, and ham is Christmas.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel like that's how we do it. We don't really.
I'm not
the biggest ham fan. I'd rather have turkey, probably.
Would you? I'm not the biggest ham or turkey fan.
What would you'd rather have a steak?
Brisket.
Brisket.
Yeah.
That's a good
Brisket.
one. Hey, how many of y'all have had Guinea? I bet none. That's a good one.
That's a good one.
We've had Guinea.
We've had Guinea.
It's good smoked. So anyway, just a couple of fun facts to start us off. What we really wanted to talk about is some entertainment.
Entertainment. And, that's going to be part of, we're not going to be all heavy. Today might be a good day to be a little lighter, being this will air after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, this is Wednesday. This will air Friday.
This will air Friday. So why don't you lead it off with some entertainment questions?
The media is calling it Glicked. We have Gladiator 2 and Wicked Part 1 airing that just aired over the weekend. And both of them are very different. One of them has very good reviews.
Have you seen any of them?
I only saw Wicked.
Okay.
I saw Wicked.
Okay.
I'm always been a big, as you know, musical theater fan. And so whenever they make musical theater adapted to a movie, I like to go watch it. I like to watch Broadway. And so actually, I did plays. I've always wanted to do plays. I have stacks of scripts in my room that I wrote, and I did a couple of plays, but I had to get out of it.
Yeah.
The industry it's become so liberal. You cannot be in drama, be in acting, without giving into the left's agenda of sexuality, gender ideology. By the time I left, they started casting male and female roles and all that sort of thing.
And it was, and you were in it young.
It wasn't. This was just a local young young actors association. That had young actors, and they were doing that, and it's happening all over the place. And then I was set to be an extra in a movie filming in Northwest Arkansas, and I got all set up for that. They emailed me times and dates and everything, and then they said, well, you have to have your COVID shot. And if you don't have your COVID shot, you have to take a COVID test. And so I said, well, I don't want to take a shot, and I don't think that I should have to take a test. This is kind of ridiculous. It was a Christian film. I'm like, aren't y'all smart enough for this? So I said, is there any way I can get an exemption because I'm not doing it? And they said no. So at that point, I pretty much called it quits but I do love that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I like to keep up with it.
Give your opinion of the one you watched and what you've heard about
the other one.
The other one.
So Wicked was better than better than I expected it to be. I thought that they would change up the storyline a whole lot, which I never saw Wicked on Broadway. I pretty much knew what it was about, and I knew the music really well. And so I was thinking they're going to toy with the storyline. They're going to, add in a bunch of LGBTQ stuff into it. And it was very light. They did it very lightly because they have to, but it was nothing near what I thought it was going to be. There was one instance, and it wasn't very flamboyant or right in your face. It was kind of a background thing.
Right.
But other than that, it was really good. And I have a synopsis. So it tells the story of Elphaba Throp, a young woman with green skin who becomes the Wicked Witch of the West. She forms an unlikely friendship with Glinda Upland, Glinda the Good Witch, at Chiz University. As Elphaba discovers the Wizard of Oz's true nature, she takes a stand against him, leading to her being labeled wicked. So a lot of people are saying, that because Broadway's so liberal that it has to be basically that people were saying if you're a Trump supporter, there's no way you can identify with this story because it's supposed to be a liberal story. But actually, the whole story is about silencing free speech. That's what it's all about. So the animals were told by the government, the wizard, they couldn't talk. And they were getting fired from their jobs for talking. And so basically the Wicked Witch of the West, who becomes Wicked Witch of the West, goes and finds all this out, what the government's doing, and stands against it and says, no, they should be able to talk, and I'm not going to be on your side. So I find it interesting that I think there's two sides to that. You can definitely draw a lesson from it, even from a conservative side of things.
Yeah. Yeah, but as far as entertainment goes, you would give it a thumbs up.
I would give it a thumbs up, except for a couple scenes. So a couple of scenes were a little.
What?
Everything's gay. Everything's gay now. So there's a couple of scenes that were bent that way, but not out in your face. Like they didn't change it too much. So
That's good.
Their budget is $150 million. Over the weekend, they made $164 million. So they've already upped their ante.
Yeah.
Now, Gladiator, I think that. Most people did not like it. But
I've heard that it was well. If you've seen the first Gladiator, it was a real maybe masculine or aggressive, and this was real passive as far as the storyline. From what I've heard, I haven't seen either one of the movies.
It's like conflict, like fight in the first one, and it's more
passive in the second one.
Well, this is an interesting thing, just to kind of build off of that. Softening, fight, good against evil, conflicts. I liked Wicked, but a trend that I've noticed going on in modern entertainment is like in the original 1939 film Wizard of Oz, that you had the Wicked Witch of the West, who was evil, and you had Glinda the Good Witch, who was good. There's been a modern trend in entertainment that swings more toward justifying the wicked or the evil part of the story. They're coming out with new documentaries. The Menendez brothers, that murdered their parents in Beverly Hills, paints their story, tells their backstory, why they were justified in brutally murdering their parents. The Dahmer series, they made a series about Jeffrey Dahmer, painted his backstory, told all the emotion that goes into him, kind of, saying, well, they shouldn't have done this, but look at their backstory, just to kind of like take the edge off of, hey, good's good and bad's bad. Right. There is a little bit of that going on, even though I like the movie.
Right. And just to be clear, Wicked is a precursor to Wizard of Oz, right? Like it tells the story.
Act 1's a precursor. Act 2 falls into the timeline of Dorothy.
Okay.
So it's kind of, Act 1's basically a prequel, and Act 2 Part 2 is basically what's going on behind the scenes of the Wizard of Oz. Wizard of Oz is kind of the government portrayal of what went on, and Wicked's actually telling you what really happened.
Right.
In their mind. But they're really two separate. If you talk to real hardcore fans, they're two separate stories. But yeah.
But they're going on simultaneously in the
Act
fiction
2.
world.
Yeah, in Act 2. In the fiction world.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Yep. Good.
So that's pretty much all I had with that. I do want to circle back to the fact that all of this is going liberal. Hollywood basically, in my view, has a monopoly on entertainment. And it's people like me who are really bent toward drama, acting, music, all of this stuff, that find that they cannot use the gifts they were given because they have to bow to a corrupt system that makes them believe a certain way. And if you don't, then you're frowned upon. You won't get jobs. You'll get kicked out of the industry. And I just wish that there was an alternative too.
And I think that there are. It's much harder to find, and you have to pursue it. But one thing that I want to say, as far as drama, is it always swings one way or the other, because there's both of these type of entertainment, or both these type of realities in life. There's a liberal, more conservative. There's in the middle, and as far as I'm concerned, I just want a real portrayal of real life, of real people.
Yeah.
And I get the sense, and it's my observation, that people, they highly skew it to one way or the other to get their agenda, or their agenda across, or to prove a point that may or may not be real life.
Right, for sure. I mean, even in the fiction side of things, you can do it to where it teaches a lesson or it has some sort of message that's universally considered a good message, not just to a specific group of people. And that's why I think that Hollywood might be on its downward slope, because right now what they're pushing for is a celebration of only one side of the story of humanity.
Right.
Whenever there's this other side of humanity that believes traditionally and is religious and has these convictions, and they're losing all of them. And so I think that this is a good time in the West, the Western culture, especially for independent media, entertainment producers to step up and produce content, and I think people be receptive. The only thing I have against, we're in the Christian sphere, and the only thing I have against like Christian movies is the way they portray Christianity, because I believe like in the blessing of God, but a lot of facing the giants. Basically, if you become saved, you get something that you want. Whereas oftentimes, more realistically, it's a struggle, and you have to work that out with the Lord. And you're almost, to an extent, guaranteed a harder life if you're a Christian than if you're not a Christian. And that's what's biblical. And so, I just, like you said, which is a real portrayal from both sides. If you're going to make a Christian film, I feel like make it realistic, because people can't connect with the story. It's a cute movie, but people can't connect with a story that's not realistic.
Yeah. So I think also you were talking about Hollywood maybe dying. There's lots of Hollywood, the traditional news media, all that is on a downward trend. I heard this week MSNBC is looking at possibly being sold. That there's people that are looking at buying it. I know there's been talk of CNN being sold. I know that movies are being produced and in other places, Miami, Atlanta, and other places like that. So there's an explosion of and even in Fort Smith, I think they're looking at putting a movie set or a movie where they can make movies at the old Fort Chaffee. So
it's definitely an investment, and I think a good one, because I think people are ready for something different. Because if you think in like left versus right in our politics, you have opposition. You have the right side of the aisle, but you also have the left side of the aisle, and they're together. With Hollywood, we don't have a big industry to combat that, in my opinion. I was really excited whenever Angel Studios came out and produced films. They did. They're the ones that brought to screen the what's the one about the trafficking? You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
The one where he goes and gets the kid from the island or whatever, and then The Chosen. But then they sold to Lionsgate, which is a Hollywood. So that's what was disappointing to me, is that who's going to stand strong for, no, we're owning ourselves and staying independent and not buying into.
And you talk about agenda, we talk about agenda, and it's reality that agendas are out there, but it would be good to have entertainment that portrayed for what it is and not have an agenda to prove, but just either it be Christianity or whatever political view you have or whatever, just come out in general, just like we can have a conversation and come to a either common ground or a truth. The same thing with entertainment, that because Hollywood has been, the news media in a big portion of it is skewed one way, whether it be right, left, and the pursuit of truth is what I want to.
Yeah, I think, and just like we were talking about whenever we were doing this, planning this show, just having conversation and letting our values come out as we talk about things. It's kind of the same thing. Tell a story and let the values of the story come out, and the values of the different characters come out as the story progresses, instead of, this is a Christian movie about the parting of the Red Sea, or we're making a movie about John the Baptist. Or you can have a true story that has dark parts and good parts that ends in a certain way and tells a certain message without explicitly saying Jesus Christ is Lord all over everything.
Right.
And so I think that's another thing we have to think about.
Yeah, I do too. I think that's good.
Another thing in recent news, moving on from that, is this one of Trump's new cabinet appointees, this Pete Hegseth. He was a Fox News host, and he's Donald Trump's nominee for Secretary of Defense now, got involved in a rape charge. Now, there's been, and most people know this, the Me Too movement that went all the way back. When did that? Probably the 90s, early 2000s?
Probably 2000.
2000s?
Yeah.
And where there's been this misconception that that judiciary systems and people in general should believe women's testimonies over men's testimonies. That because a woman came forth and said, so-and-so did something to me, then that means that we should believe her. And then if the guy says, no, I didn't do anything, then we should not believe what he said.
Right.
That's kind of people come to a conclusion in their mind already about what actually happened before they figure out what actually happened. So, and this is just another example of selective media. So, on this night, this woman's referred to as Jane Doe. She had a romantic encounter with Hegseth, and then after the encounter, she claimed that he sexually assaulted her. They met at a bar, and they had a couple of drinks, and then they walked arm in arm, I think, back to his hotel room, and there was both admitted that they had sexual intercourse later, but he said it was consensual. And what they left out was that later she went to the medical staff. She believes she'd been sexually assaulted, and the surveillance footage shows that his account is actually the more accurate account. So they were saying that there was multiple people from the bar, from these things, saying that she had never been tipsy, that she wasn't incoherent. She says that he tried to slip something in her drink and take her back up. They didn't, in the mainstream media, they didn't include any of that testimony from anybody that said that. They said, no, she's completely coherent, and they omitted the crucial details that, basically, they omitted the details that incriminated her automatically.
Right.
And it's just been a constant battle for the Trump cabinet. And it's how they are saying that we're going to weaponize law, the Department of Justice, to go against our enemies, because Trump's been talking about going against Hillary Clinton, going against the Biden administration, going against all this, how we're weaponizing it, but how they actually turn around and weaponize the exact same thing, and they're calling wolf on us.
Right. Yeah. And the thing with that is that I can see they make us into, and I've said it before, and you've heard me say it, in this presidential run that we've just had. Trump got elected. I am glad I voted for Trump, but they forced me into being a Trump supporter. I would not be a Trump supporter in the sense that I feel there's other people that are better qualified, that that represent me better. And they force you to be pigeonholed into one side or the other, and neither one of them are above reproach. Not to say that anybody's going to be necessarily 100% above reproach, but they pigeonhole you into those positions. And like this thing with and this is kind of on the same way of going, but the border czar that that Trump appointed, and they're going back and forth right now in Denver about he's the mayor of Denver, Johnson, is saying that he'll stand and go to prison to save the illegal alien or the illegal immigrants, illegal aliens, immigrants, however you want to term them. And he said that he will come in and I take pause at that, because if the roles were flipped and there was some like the quorum court or a local governmental body that is, all government starts local, and you want the strongest to be at the bottom and the less strong to go to the top. We don't want the federal government coming in and enforcing laws that we don't agree with.
Right.
Now, I'm not for illegal immigration. I'm not for people coming here illegally. I think that there is a path, and I am for legal immigration, 100% for legal immigration. But I take pause at those things because they pit us one side against another. Yes, I want the illegal criminals to be handled properly.
Yeah.
But I don't want it to be that the federal government comes in and puts their thumb on everybody, and nobody at the local level has any recourse or any way to say no or defend their citizens on that. So it's that when I say they it's left or right, it's just they've made enemies out of everybody, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to put a division between all people, whether it be over race, sexuality, all of the metrics that you war, not war, defense, immigration, all of that stuff. They just want to put a dividing line between, and that's media, entertainment, social media, all of those facets. Is for division. The main purpose of it is for division.
Well, in order to have unity, you have to have a good enemy to pit each other against.
Right.
And that's what they say.
And that's what they're creating is an enemy. Whether what side you're on, one side or the other, they're just creating an enemy so that we can be divided with our neighbor.
Yeah.
And we don't want to come together and this sounds very liberal, come together and have unity.
Unity.
Yeah.
You sound like a good Democrat.
I am a good.
Yeah, good. Blue-collar Democrat.
Yes.
Working class.
Yeah.
Clarify what you meant by, you wouldn't want you were talking about the situation where the mayor where was it in Colorado? Denver. Mayor in Denver wasn't going to cooperate and said he would go to prison over deporting illegal immigrants in his city. Do I understand that correctly?
Yes.
Well, how does that fare? What do you mean by you wish that he had more? Are you saying you wish he had more of a say, or?
Well, I take pause. That's what I said. I take pause at that, and a lot of people that I've talked to, a lot of friends of mine, a lot of opinion is yes, go in there and take them and send them back to where they came from.
Yeah.
And if they're here illegally, they do not need to be here. There is a way and a course of action to take to get into this country illegally or legally, and that's what they should do. That's what all people should do, whether it's a work visa or just general immigration, or there's a myriad of ways to do that, and I am open to all of those. And I think that the people here illegally should not be here. But it gives me pause when people say, I'm with the federal government and I'm coming in here and I am going to take control of a situation.
Yeah.
And the locals are saying, hey, wait a minute. No, maybe the locals are wrong.
Right.
But there should be protection. That's what the quorum court, that's what your state police, that's what your county sheriff, that's what all those people are there, is you've elected them to protect you from a imposing bureaucracy. And for them, I don't like the clash.
Yeah.
I don't like the clash between the two. I don't like the clash between the two.
I don't like the clash between the two either. The only thing that makes me lean in favor of deportation by the federal government.
Oh, I lean in favor of the deportation.
Okay.
I do lean in favor of the deportation, but I take pause to say if the roles were reversed and the imposing force was coming to do something I didn't like.
Right. But what we were doing isn't unconstitutional while what they are is. I think that's the main thing. First of all, state governments can't have anything to do with foreign governments. That means getting non-citizens back to their countries. That falls under the federal government. True. Also, if you're an illegal immigrant, you're a federal threat. So I feel like it falls under the federal government's jurisdiction to remove illegal immigrants, send them back to their countries, because that's working with other countries, which isn't a state thing. So the state doesn't have any say over that. Yeah. Whereas maybe if we said, hey, we want to have guns, and we know that the Constitution says that we can have guns, and the federal government says, no, you can't have guns. That's a little bit different. We're not doing anything.
Yeah, my statement wasn't that we were doing something wrong. My statement was that I take pause to say we should be working together. We should be upholding the law, and when the law is not being upheld, the correct authority should take care of that. But I just give pause to just be mindful that even though we like something and what's going on, we can go awful far down that road, and it could be in 10 years, it could be switched, and it could be the other way around. We just need to be mindful of that. Yeah. As a country, as a people, as a nation, we need to be mindful that we stay within our constitutional preview.
Most people don't know what the Constitution says anyway. That's another issue.
A lot of people don't. Yeah.
You know, what did Ronald Reagan say? What are the most non-dangerous words in the English language?
We're from the federal government.
I'm from the government, and I'm here to help. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's always a good thing to remember, especially when we're dealing with them coming in to state areas and saying, hey, we're working in the state. So, okay, I get what you're saying. You had something about Walmart on there that I wanted to get
Oh, yeah. Just a sidebar, you know, DEI is a big trigger.
I'm for DEI. I'm diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yeah. But here, I was reading an article that said Walmart is ditching DEI.
Well, it's not feasible. I mean, you get, just like with Boeing, they're building the airplanes, and this isn't to, they're building the airplanes, yet because of their DEI regulations, they have to hire on a certain amount of people that have mental incapabilities, where they have mental issues. People have mental issues. I understand that. There's a place for everybody.
Absolutely.
But whenever you get people with mental issues working on planes,
well, it's dangerous. It's not even that. It is people should have a position or have a job because of their ability to do that job.
Yeah.
You should be hired upon your abilities. Whether you're good at this, there's lots of things I'm not good at. More things I'm not good at than I am good at, and there's other people that are better served to do those jobs.
Yeah.
And so that's where DEI falls out, and it has nothing to do with your mental capabilities. I mean, my mental capabilities are lacking in lots of ways. Whether you're male or female, just whatever the case may be, it should be on whether you can comprehend the process that completes that job, whether you're able to put the box up high enough, fast enough, and that should be a blind metric that doesn't take into consideration your age, your sex, your whatever. It should just take in your ability to do that job.
I agree. Let me be the devil's advocate, though.
Okay.
Because black people are systematically discriminated against, and that the systems are set up against them in such a way where they cannot succeed at the rate of a white person. Wouldn't that, as a whole, keep them from getting better jobs then?
If there is systematic, or if there is a place where that is in effect, I think it's wrong. Just like if it's in the reverse, I think it's wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
We're just in a society, and I agree. We're in a society.
We're in a victim society. We're in a victim society, and everybody gets their step ahead by being a victim. And there are victims. There are victims of terrible things, and I think, and I'm all for the victim. I don't want there to be victims at all.
What's the first step to not being a victim, though? not thinking you're a victim.
True.
To a certain extent.
To a certain extent.
I feel like to rise above you have to have the mindset that you can rise above it.
Mm-hmm.
So to stay in the state where I can't because you've basically taken away your opportunity to be able to. You know, that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah.
What did they scrap? Was it just the? I might have something on it too. Thought I did anyway.
You must have read it.
I read it. I print off something every single day to print off my headlines, you know. Walmart rolls back diversity programs and changes include closing 100 million equity racial center launched in 2020. I heard about that. I remember when that came out. Phasing out the term DEI, ending preference for suppliers majority owned by women, LGBTQ plus members, veterans, and others. In sale of some transgender linked products on Walmart.com. Well, that's good. Obviously, the reason they're stepping back on that, the only reason a big business would step back on that, I feel like, is if it's fallen out of popularity. Because if it was a booming business for that stuff, I feel like they would keep it out. But obviously, it's not a booming business.
Well, it's not. They're about profit. It's a business. They want profit, and it is hurting the bottom line to implement DEI regulations in various places.
And if you follow big business, mainstream media, all of these things bring in billions of dollars a year. They follow what makes them more money. They don't have a core belief system. They'll say they're for what's good and right and, you know, for the little man and whatever, but they actually change whatever they believe just to make them more money. So I think the whole thing about money and power. Money and power.
Money and power.
Enough said, I think.
Enough said.
Enough said.
Yeah.
We'll see you all next time.